Welcome aboard Tristan and Tommy's Runaway Railway. For your safety, please remain seated and enjoy the show.
Long live the king. And hello, Matt. Welcome to Please Remain Seated, a theme park podcast hosted by two theme park enthusiasts that work for the industry in Orlando, the city beautiful, the theme park capital of the world. We have not recorded since last year, and there's been a lot of things that have happened, especially in the theme park industry. A lot of Disney updates. And over in the theme park industry in general, a lot of beloved attractions closing without notice. Joining me today is my incredible host, Tristan. How are we doing today, Tristan?
You're good. Happy New Year, all of you.
Happy New Year.
I will give the same speech I give absolutely every time we record an episode and say it has been a while. I have been traveling. We have not put out an episode since mid-August. I
Yeah,
had just gotten back from Vegas when we recorded that. And then in October, I did a nice little Illinois Chicago trip.
yeah,
But D23 did happen right after we
yes.
put out an episode in August. So,
Yeah, and all of Horror Nights happened as well. So
yeah,
like
all
I'll
of
be
it.
getting into my Horror Nights review at the end of this episode as well. I forgot to throw that in. I'm just, because of all the news that has happened with, some Disney news and then some ride closure news is not just in Disney. We'll get into that. Where do we begin, Tristan?
Where do we begin? Well, I
Yeah.
figured we can hop on into some of the D23 announcements that came out in
Yeah.
August, but I did include some updates that have happened since then, since a lot of these attractions have
Yes.
got a little bit more progress. So I'll start
Mhm.
chronologically over at Disneyland. So at Disneyland, they did announce that, excuse me, this year we're going to get a new Main Street Opera House show featuring the first ever Walt Disney animatronic entitled Walt
Yeah.
Disney: A Magical Life. So this is going to have a run where it's the only thing that plays at the theater, and then eventually it'll go back into a rotation with Great Moments with
Mhm.
Mr. Lincoln. That's going to
And
open this year sometime.
is that going to be a thing where like when you say a rotation, will it be like a part of the day will be Walt and a part of the day will be Abe, or like depending on the day you go, it'll be Walt or Abe?
I would hope that it's both will play throughout the day.
Okay, yeah,
I don't
hopefully.
know if it's going to be like a first half of the day, last half of the day type of thing, or one
Yeah,
show and then the other and then the other. So that
yeah.
is an unknown, but it is an excellent question because, if you end up going there, like I did, see, when I went to Disneyland, the only time I've been in March of 2019, instead of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, they were doing a preview, kind of like they do at the Walt Disney Presents Theater at Hollywood
Gotcha.
Studios. And I did not know that. I actually sat down in the theater getting ready to see it, and then it was a preview, so I walked out. But so hopefully they do some sort of clarification on that because that's going to be an exciting new show. But a lot of people still love Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, so
Yeah, and it's a classic. Like,
definitely.
yeah.
Staying in the California side of things, across the Esplanade, we have Disney's California Adventure, some new things going there, very exciting. Avatar Land, they are getting an Avatar Land over there at
Hmm.
California Adventure. Speculation shows that this may be built over the parking lot, which is currently behind the Pixar Pier Hotel, south of the
Ooh,
Disneyland Hotel. So if you look at a map of California Adventure and Disneyland, there's a little strip of property that has the Disneyland Hotel and the Pixar Pier Hotel with parking lots all around them. They're getting rid of the parking lots, so they're keeping the two hotels, but everywhere where the parking lots were is going to be these new areas of California Adventure. One of them being the Avatar Land, including a boat ride. Now, on the other side of that same lot here, we're getting a Coco land, a Coco attraction, which is also to be a boat ride. That's actually, oddly enough, supposed to draw inspiration from a Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean. Not thematically, but I think in terms of how the attraction works logistically. Which I thought that was interesting when I read the description that a Coco attraction is going to draw inspiration from Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean. So that'll be over there just west of California Adventure, surrounding the Disneyland Hotel and the Pixar Pier hotels. Staying over there, we have the Avengers Campus expansion. Avengers Campus still very new. I haven't even seen it yet, and they're already expanding it to have two new attractions:
yeah, I got
Avengers
to see that
Infinity
earlier
Defense.
this year. Really nice.
Yeah, so it's going to be exciting. One of them is called Avengers Infinity Defense, and then the other is Stark Flight Lab. And I know Robert Downey Jr. will be reprising his role as Tony Stark for the Stark Flight Lab, which is cool. As for the other one, Infinity Defense, I guess you're fighting King Thanos, who brings you into all these different like universes and stuff, something like that. So we're looking at a 2027 opening for these attractions, so still at least 2 years away
Yeah.
for that. But some excitement over there in California.
Hmm.
That is the extent of my California news. I do know that I think they said, if I remember reading correctly, that the Avengers expansion is actually not part of the Disneyland Forward announcement. So they did announce a big chunk of
Okay.
money being invested into expanding the Disneyland Resort, but I guess the Avengers expansion is actually separate from that financially. So that's just
Okay.
an interesting thing I learned.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope because I feel like the Avengers stuff that was supposed to be done years ago, but has been pushed back for whatever reasons. COVID, probably. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, COVID messed a whole bunch of stuff up here, and actually we have some
Yeah.
things later in this list that are a result of COVID. But hopping on over to Florida, we're going to start in the Magic Kingdom. We got the Pirates Lounge. The Pirates Lounge will be opening late this year, 2025. That did replace the Pirates League, which is like the boys' version, essentially, of the boutique where you could get dressed like a pirate. So they tore that out. They gutted that. That's kind of right in the middle of the Pirates of the Caribbean queue and gift shop area. So a lot of that is behind walls right now, but the Pirates Lounge, which will probably serve alcohol as far as I can imagine. I mean, if they're advertising it as a
Yeah.
lounge, and little food items, will be open there late this year. So we're already in the calendar year that's happening, so that's exciting. Staying in the Magic Kingdom, we have Disney Starlight Nighttime Parade. This is going to be a new nighttime spectacular featuring Peter Pan, Frozen, Moana, Encanto, and more. So plenty of characters, just like any Disney parade.
I am so excited that we're getting the nighttime parade again finally.
Yes, yes,
But we
and I
have
think
Magic Kingdom hasn't had one since 2016, right?
yes, you are
Something like that.
correct,
Yeah.
and that was the Main Street Electrical Parade. And the great thing about this, from what I read, is it's going to quote unquote follow in the footsteps of Spectro Magic and Main Street Electrical Parade. So I think
Ooh.
the I mean obviously it's a nighttime parade. I think the lights are going to be a big part of it, which is great because I loved the dazzling lights of both of those
Yeah.
previous parades. So we got that coming summer of this year. That's coming up. That'll be here before we know it. We just have to get through our little Florida winter, and it'll be here.
Yeah. It's really
Speaking of,
cold right now.
it is really cold. It's
Yeah.
in the 50s right now, I think, and then
Yeah.
maybe even in the 40s. It's going to get down
Yep.
to 38 when I go into work tomorrow, and the high is
Yeah.
55. The high is 55 degrees.
Yeah. And for those that aren't from Florida, like the 40s and 50s in Florida are way colder than the 40s and 50s up north because we have that humidity. So it's like you just got out of a pool humidity or you just got out of the shower and the AC is blasting. Like cold. Like it's cold.
Yeah, exactly. And Tommy and I are both familiar with real winter, so we know that we're not just being babies
Yeah.
about it. Like it's actually it's actually cold.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, Florida's ruined me a little bit, but
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. But so we got that over there, the exciting parade. Hopping on over into the big expansions of the Magic Kingdom. We'll start with the
Mhm.
Cars expansion. So,
Cars.
what we now know is Frontierland is going to have a big Cars expansion, basically where like Tom Sawyer Island is and things like that. Over in
Mhm.
that direction, two Cars attractions will be coming. One is just a family-friendly ride, and that's really all they've detailed. I don't think it's going to be
Mhm.
that spectacular of an attraction. Let's think like Alien Swirling Saucers compared to Slinky Dog Dash. Like obviously, it's not really
Something like, yeah.
considered to be an e-ticket, big ride. So this is going to be some version of a family-friendly ride. I don't know what ride technology it's going to use. The other ride technology is going to be a trackless all-terrain ride. So this is going to be where you get in a car
Ooh.
and it is trackless, but it goes all-terrain. There is no sort of marker on the ground as to where your vehicle will
Trackless
go.
all-terrain. See, I thought it was going to be a Radiator Springs Racers style ride at the Magic Kingdom, but no.
They have released some footage of the ride technology in use for this attraction, and it is truly
Wow.
trackless. The vehicle is not tethered to the ground in any capacity.
Wow.
So it's going to be quite interesting to see. So I'm excited for that. Although
It's going to have
sad to
so
see
many
that
downtimes.
classic part. Oh yeah, sad to see that classic part of Magic Kingdom going away though. But
Yeah.
But speaking of that, the Villains Land.
Yeah.
Villains Land was announced last year. Getting two attractions in the Villains Land. Don't know any details about what type of the attractions are going to be. A lot of details for this are not out there yet. In fact, both the time frame for the Cars expansion and the Villains expansion has yet to be announced. So I don't even know if they've announced when ground will be breaking on it yet. But
Yeah.
I would assume pretty soon. Um, so we have the Villains Land. We have those two attractions, and then they're also going to have some dining and shopping options in the Villains Land as well. So very immersive. You get to do a lot more than just ride a ride real quick. Which I'll go back to Toy Story Land for an example. For quite a while, Toy Story Land was just a couple rides and Woody's Lunchbox,
Mhm.
and that wasn't a whole lot to do. And then when they added Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, I feel like that gave the land a lot more integrity as a well-rounded experience. Because if you can eat a full
Yeah.
meal in an actual sit-down restaurant versus just a to-go window, especially in the heat of Toy Story Land, I think that's going to make it cool. So this Villains Land having all these things to do, I think is going to be very neat. They say that it's going to be inspired by old and new villains. For example, I picked some of the ones that captured my attention the most. Yzma, Gaston, Mother Gothel, and more. Those are some of the new villains, as well as the old
Mhm.
classic villains like Maleficent. Even the Maleficent dragon will be a part of it in some capacity, according to the concept art. So, do you have any thoughts on all the Magic Kingdom hullabaloo going on, Tommy?
I mean, there's just a lot going on. There's a YouTuber, Braden from Mickey Views, who months before D23 actually broke the initial rumor that cars would be coming to the Magic Kingdom. Like, I think there must be someone he knows in Imagineering that suggested that Radiator Springs. He specifically said Radiator Springs Racers coming to Magic Kingdom. So I think that's why I thought that the new e-ticket for Cars Land would be that. But I guess they are going a different direction, but still utilizing cars. As long and it's one of those things where I think it's gonna be a great addition. Um, it's like I'm gonna miss the kinetic energy of Tom Sawyer's Island and the riverboat, but as someone that's actually lived down here for how it's been over 6 years now, I honestly haven't gone there that much, even though I live down here. So I'm gonna miss the aesthetics, but I think the addition is gonna be really good because I mean, at least in California, Radiator Springs Racers, I know that's not what we're getting. That is my favorite ride. That is my favorite Disney ride. I'm not even a Cars fan, but they did such a good job of the theming. If they put that much effort into the theming here, I will be so happy. And in the Villains Land, that's gonna be so cool. Everybody wants that. And in the concept art, you do kind of see coaster track in the background. So I mean, a Villains Land, they got to be going big roller coaster. I mean, I don't know how big they're going to go at the Magic Kingdom, but I imagine something a little bit more than Tron. I don't know what that's going to be actually, but how you feeling, Tristan?
Hey,
You
I'm
excited about these
excited.
updates?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I am a Cars fan, so
Mhm.
I think to get a little bit of that Cars stuff more than just the Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy show that was at Hollywood
Which
Studios.
RIP?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, rest in peace. But like, I did it once, and I was like, nah. Um,
You know what's interesting with that show? I feel like
what?
Disney, whenever they do something, they always announce it months or years in advance. That show just kind of opened one day.
Yeah,
Like it just opened one day in like 2020 or 2021, just kind of out of nowhere. And now,
yeah,
hey,
I know, craziness. But
yeah,
so I'm excited to get that intellectual property over there, and then the Villains Land, I'm
yeah,
super excited about because I just love Disney culture for the fact that we can celebrate villains. You know,
yeah,
I just think it's just a really cool side of things that we can as fans like celebrate the
yeah.
dark side of Disney. So I'm super excited to see what they do with that because that's gonna be pretty cool. Um, Hopping on down the monorail track from the Magic Kingdom over to Epcot. We got some things going on over there.
A
Nothing too
lounge.
crazy, but that is where we are starting. We are starting with the Spaceship Earth Lounge. And the Spaceship Earth Lounge is, lounges are becoming very popular around
Yeah.
property nowadays. This will feature the intertwined history of both the attraction and the park of Epcot, with food and beverage options and a great view of World Showcase and the nightly fireworks.
Yeah.
So it's going along on there. In fact, I just saw a news headline over the past day or two that said the construction walls have finally gone up around the
Oh
lounge. So
wow.
if you remember when you're looking at the backside of Spaceship Earth, there was that extension with the big window that went all the way across.
Hmm.
That is now behind walls.
Wow.
So I guess that happened over the last week, maybe even the last three or
Yeah.
4 days. So
You know, it's good. Like, I feel like there's just not enough places to eat and drink at Epcot, so I'm really glad that they're adding the Spaceship Earth line. I mean, honestly, it'll probably be pretty cool. I'm.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, man. People always talk about if they're going to add a 12th country pavilion to World
You know,
Showcase. I'd be like, do
drink
we
around the
need that?
world, drink around the world, not drink around the world celebration. Let's do that
Uh,
instead.
so I don't know, but yes, it's exciting. I'm a Spaceship Earth fan for sure.
Oh,
Um,
me too. Love
so
that
I'm
ride.
interested to see how they include alcohol to Spaceship Earth,
Yeah.
and Pirates of the Caribbean for that matter. Um,
Yeah, it's like I feel like that's got to be like the first public place at the Magic Kingdom you can get a drink at.
yeah,
Because like
probably
the
will
only
be
other place is Skipper Canteen. Like,
Skipper Canteen, and then
yeah,
Cinderella's Royal Table, I think, is wine or
okay.
something, but something like that. But yeah, so
Be our
that's
guest.
and a lot of people be our guest. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
meant. Be our guest. So a lot of people are kind of talking, well, Walt didn't want alcohol in his park. Like, yeah, that's true, and I like personally, I like when we stick to Walt's vision for things, but at the same time, like, people love alcohol, man. You put a bar anywhere on Disney property, and there's going to be a line for it all the time. So
yeah. The blogs all over that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So staying in Epcot, we have what is, in my opinion, not the most notable news considering the attraction we're talking about, but Test Track being rethemed yet again. Um,
Hmm.
so I guess with this new version, apart from being kind of more, I don't want to even say a departure, but closer to what we knew as the original Test Track, being more practical, not so much just dark and cool lights.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I guess the queue is going to feature 6 exhibits about vehicles and the people who create
Hmm.
these vehicles. Um, and new show scenes will be added into the attraction to highlight how mobility connects everyone through our lifestyles and relationships. So
Okay.
maybe a little bit of a departure from, just that like I said, the blue cool lights and it's in the dark to more
Yeah.
of an educational and practical approach to the attraction.
Yeah. I've been open about this, but I absolutely hated Test Track 2.0. Like, it was a fun ride, but knowing what the original Test Track was with like its practical theming, it was just so much cooler before. And like 2.0, it was just blue lights, basically. It wasn't really, you expect more from Disney.
Yeah.
So with this 3.0 kind of going back to its roots with World of Motion, I'm very excited to see like what kind of set designs are going to go with it. And I hope they kind of go back to doing more practical sets with it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I like the
Yeah.
steps Epcot has been taking lately to go
Hmm.
forward and to expand and to be new, but also they have lately in most recent years been honoring a lot of Epcot's past. I mean, they even called the D23 event that happened in August was called Horizons. Like that was
Yeah.
the name of the D20. So like they are truly, paying a lot of homage to old Epcot with the things, not to mention Epcot Forever, that
Hmm.
temporary show that had so many great
Hmm.
references and things like that. So I like the direction Epcot's going for the most part.
Hmm.
There is an
Yeah.
asterisk there, but that's for another episode, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah.
Um, Hopping on out of Epcot, we're taking the friendship boat over to Hollywood Studios now, and we will talk about some of the things going on there. So first, this is, I think, definitely the underdog news story. Mandalorian and Grogu will be added to Smuggler's Run when
Oh
Smuggler's
yeah.
Run gets updated May of next year, 2026. Now, supposedly, the
Wow.
Mandalorian and Grogu movie is coming out May 22nd. Timelines do get shifted quite often for Disney parks
Hmm.
and movies. So, who knows if that's going to stick, but supposedly, I would not be surprised if the day the movie comes out, they add Mandalorian and Grogu scenes into Smuggler's Run. This will mark the first time Smuggler's Run has had an alternate show scene and experience like Star Tours has had. So I guess that's a bit of excitement right there. I'm
Yeah.
personally, Smuggler's Run is not a go-to attraction for me when I'm at Hollywood
Yeah.
Studios. So maybe this will
Same here.
make it a little more interesting for me. So
Yeah. Something I find interesting is how at Disney World, Smuggler's Run will get a long queue, but then over at Disneyland, it does not.
oh, see, I haven't even seen it
Yeah.
over there yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, when I went over to Disneyland earlier like in May, it was getting like 15-minute waits on days where at Hollywood Studios it was getting 45-minute waits.
Oh yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what the deal is, but I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just because it's in Disneyland, and like when
Yeah.
you're in the Disneyland park, you have so many other attractions to compete with
Yeah.
in terms of guest flow and stuff. So I don't know. That's an interesting point because
Yeah.
at Hollywood Studios, what is there only like six, seven attractions now? I don't even know. So,
So
um,
Hollywood Studios, it only has e-ticket rides.
yeah,
That is its problem.
yeah,
Um, I will talk a little bit about that in a little bit once we get to other news, but
yeah.
we'll get there.
We might be getting there right now, Tommy. So
All right,
the
let's get there.
the other thing going on,
Slap me with
Hollywood
it.
Studios. This has caused a conundrum. Monsters Inc. Land is going into Disney's Hollywood Studios. Ground
Hmm.
will break for that this year, 2025. They will begin what I can only imagine is tearing things down. So I will address the elephant in the room. This is replacing most things in the Muppets Courtyard. It will no longer be Muppets Courtyard, Muppet Vision 3D, Pizza Rizzo, Mama Melrose. It is all soon to be as naught. It will be gone. Excuse me. So um, I'll go down the bullet points here. Let's see. It will be rethemed to Monstropolis. So the area itself will be Monstropolis. It's going to take on kind of a hustling city vibe instead of what we now know. I mean, it almost feels like a park, really. Grand Avenue and the Muppets Courtyard feels kind of like a park. This is going to
Hmm.
feel like a city. Um, what is currently the Grand Arts Theater that houses Muppet Vision 3D will become the Monstro Theater, and it will have some sort of a Monsters Inc. show inside.
And they did specify that it will be a new Monsters Inc. show. They are not moving Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor to Hollywood Studios.
You know, I don't believe they did say it's going to be a new show. Excuse me. But here's the thing. If you look at the concept art, the newest concept art for the area, there's a billboard sitting above, kind of in between where Pizza Rizzo and Mama Melrose is. And the billboard has the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor logo on it. It
Oh,
even says laugh. So I don't know
okay.
if that's just an homage or if it's a
Or
hint
maybe it
of
was an
something
original
else.
idea. Okay. Maybe I'm
So
actually wrong. Who knows?
I don't know. I don't
They
think
they haven't
Monsters
actually
Inc. Laugh
officially
Floor.
said stuff, so okay.
Yeah, we'd have to see. And that's the thing. The time frame for this is
Yeah.
also to be announced. Groundbreaking will begin this year, but that's really all we
Yeah.
know. So, before we talk about Muppet Vision for a moment, which I think we're going to, the other quick details, Harryhausen's restaurant will replace Mama Melrose Restaurant Italiano. Pizza Rizzo will become something I don't know what, but it is still there. The basic structure of Pizza Rizzo is still the same with the two-story
Yeah.
structure with both ground level outdoor seating and a balcony outdoor seating. The restroom appears to still be there. The Gonzo's Royal Flush. But the big thing that's going to go in the back also is a new flying door, big roller coaster.
A roller coaster, a probably just a concept that people have dreamed of for years, and it's actually happening.
Mhm.
Monsters Inc. door roller coaster.
I love it. You know,
That
I love it.
definitely the most unexpected announcement from D23. That was very exciting.
I'm super excited. I grew up loving Monsters Inc. I think the door scene is super exciting. I remember seeing Disney on
Mhm.
Ice, and they did the thing with the doors flying around the ceiling of the ice rink on Disney on Ice when I was a kid. And I thought that was so cool. But so now that it's a roller coaster, I think that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Um, it would appear that the roller coaster is actually going to be built in what is now the cast member parking lot for Disney Hollywood Studios. The
Uh,
rest of this expansion, or I should say retheming, will be in what we now know as Grand Avenue in the Muppets Courtyard. So a little bit of a logistical change there for how the property will work for cast members, but
mhm.
that
Good luck.
is that. Yep. So we'll see what happens there for those nice people.
Yeah.
Unless you have any more geeky stuff to say about the roller coaster, I think we want to probably talk about Muppet Vision and what it means to lose such a iconic piece of Disney and Muppets history.
Yeah. So it's interesting my feelings about it because I feel like a year or two ago, this announcement would have shattered my world and I would have been furious. Um, but this did the news because they announced Muppet or not Muppet, they announced the Monsters Inc. land at D23. They did not announce it taking over Muppets Land until a couple months later, like in November. When they made that announcement, it was after the news about King Ka broke, where we're going to be talking about that later, where a very iconic roller coaster was closed without any prior warning. So the fact that we actually got warning on this, and then the fact that we're not losing Muppets at Hollywood Studios and where they're going, the news about where the Muppets are going, I think just shocked me so much that I wasn't mad. Like, I remember the day that it was announced. I was in the kitchen cooking. My girlfriend was in bed. I just heard her scream. She's like, "Oh my God, Tommy! Like, big Disney updates. It's about Hollywood Studios." And as soon as she said that, I'm like, Muppet Vision,
Mm,
because the guy that broke the news about Cars months before D23, or I shouldn't say break the news, but mention the rumor, he had said, "Guys, just so you know, nothing is sacred at Walt Disney World. This includes Muppet Vision." Um, so I'm like, I remember when they announced Monsters Inc. Land, there was talkings about maybe it taking over Muppets. I didn't want to believe anything until something was officially announced. But I think I felt more prepared for the announcement. But then when they said where Muppets is now going, where's it
yeah,
going, Tristan?
so I will
Where are
tell
the
you where
Muppets
it's
going?
going. The Rock and Roller Coaster will be rethemed.
Rocket Muppets Rock and Roller.
And I think that's phenomenal. I grew up loving rock music. I grew
Yeah.
up listening to Aerosmith. I love Rock and Roller Coaster for Aerosmith, but realistically, for the past
Hmm.
several years, I knew that Aerosmith was becoming less and less relevant. And
Hmm.
I cannot think of a cooler thing um, to go
It,
into Rock and Roller Coaster. And this includes the
yeah.
Goofy movie Powerline idea that a lot of people had. I like the Muppets idea more.
I agree. And it almost sounds like something ridiculous that someone online would come up with, but they're actually doing it.
Mhm.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe I actually just remembered, we didn't mention this in our potential news, or we didn't plan this, but uh, Universal Orlando is closing Rip Ride Rocket later this year, and they're going to be replacing that with some type of roller coaster. They haven't said yet, but Rip Ride Rocket is closing in September of this year at Universal. And for those that don't know, Rip Ride Rocket has a secret menu of songs, one of which is Muppet Rainbow Connection. Maybe now Muppet Rainbow Connection can be on the Muppets Rock and Roller Coaster. Who
And
knows? I would
Aerosmith
love to see
can
that.
go
Yeah,
to Rip Ride Rocket.
yeah, correct. Aerosmith. So, and Aerosmith, that's actually another thing. Like, I feel like for years that was something that I never wanted changed. But I think more recently I've been more comfortable with change. But then also, it's like, I feel like it's not the type of thing I would normally bring up on this podcast, but there are certain things about Steven Tyler that I've learned about in the past year or two. I'm glad with him not being in a Disney park anymore. Uh, he's, anyways,
Are you telling me he hasn't
Muppet.
lived a family-friendly lifestyle his whole life? Come on now.
I believe in his autobiography, he bragged about adopting a 14-year-old girl to be his wife.
Yep. Rock and
Yeah,
roll.
rock and roll.
Um, but
Anyway,
anyway, we're eating up time here, so to
correct.
close that out, Muppets is definitely going to be missed. Muppet Vision, for those who don't know, is the last
Yeah,
thing Jim Henson worked on personally.
yeah.
And that's going to be a big blow to the Muppets culture.
Hmm.
So we're thinking of that. For the rest of these Disney news pieces, I'm going to just blow through them. We still have Animal Kingdom, one piece of resorts news, and
Yep.
a tiny bit of international parks and cruise line stuff. So I'm literally going to blow through it. Um,
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, it's coming, 2027 Animal Kingdom. It's replacing
Yep.
Dinosaur. It's going to be
Hmm.
part of a larger expansion, the Central America's expansion of Animal Kingdom, which is replacing Dino
Hmm.
Land. It's going to be in a town called Pueblo Esperanza, and that's going
Hmm.
to include both Indiana Jones and the Encanto attraction that is coming.
Yeah.
The Encanto attraction, Antonio has received his gift and the ability to communicate with animals, and his room has been transformed into a rainforest. So you will go through that experience. Somehow there will also be a very large quick service restaurant, one of the largest at Walt Disney World, is how they're advertising it. I don't know if that means they're just retheming
Yeah.
Restaurantosaurus or they are expanding or making a new restaurant, but they are
Yeah.
saying it's going to be very big.
Yeah.
So the land is also going to include the Disney character Carousel. I don't know if that's the official title, but that's what they're calling it. A horse stable has been transformed into a carousel featuring animals from different Disney stories. And these are going to be some lesser known characters. Examples include Nigel, Squirt, and Sheldon from Finding Nemo, Timon and Pumbaa, and Kaa from Lion King, Hey Hey, Abu, some other character, Bambi, Eeyore, and stuff like that. So some lesser
Hmm.
known characters that are animals, I think will be nice. Um,
Hmm.
In addition to the Central Americas thing, Zootopia Better Together, a new show that will be replacing It's Tough to Be a Bug, which I don't know if that many people are devastated by. Certainly
Yeah,
not like.
I am one of the three people that are devastated by it, just because I really love the part of It's Tough to Be a Bug where Hopper tries to swat you with the fly swatter, then goes, "What? You're still alive?" I like that there's a Disney ride that literally wants to kill you. I'm gonna miss that, but I do understand the change. It will be nice.
I do like that.
Yeah.
Quick resorts news. Disney Lakeshore Lodge. This was more recently announced. So the Reflections at Disney Lakeside Lodge was paused due to COVID. They leveled what was river country that stand there in ruins for like 20 years. They started to build something, then COVID hit and they completely stopped. They have recently announced that it is not going to be Reflections at Disney Lakeside Lodge. It's going to be Disney Lakeshore Lodge. No updated concept art has been released to tell us if it's going to be that much different. So at least something's happening over there with that property. Internationally, Paris is retheming their studios park to be Disney Adventure World, featuring World of Frozen, Adventure Bay, Tangled Attraction, Alice in Wonderland, an acrobatic music show, interactive ending, some Avengers campus nighttime show coming over there, and
Chat
they're
GBT
transforming
name.
the what?
Adventure World. That is a Chat GBT name. Anyways,
Yeah, it's not the at least it's not Kaleidoscope Park, but whatever.
I guess
Anyway,
so.
Disney Villain,
Just
and they're transforming the Disney Village over there, which if I remember
yeah.
correctly, is like their Disney Springs shopping equivalent. Disney Cruise Line, we're probably already aware of this. 4 new ships will be coming between 2027 and 2031. They are essentially doubling their fleet from what they originally had to what they're going to have here in a few years. Disney Treasure set sail in December of last year. And Disney Destiny will come out in November of this year. So that's kind of exciting. We don't know the names. I know the Disney Adventure is going to be the Asia-based ship that Disney actually bought from a bankrupt cruise company. So that ship is going to look very different from the other cruise line ships because it was not originally built by Disney. Um, Cruise line stuff. That is all I have for Disney things, Tommy. I know you want to talk about some HHN things and maybe delve into the Six Flags Cedar Fair.
Yes. So let's see how much I can dig into this. So King Ka, which is the world's tallest roller coaster and the second fastest in the world. It was the fastest for a long time. Six Flags and Cedar Fair unceremoniously closed it after this season and announced that it will be replaced with a record-breaking multi-launch coaster. We don't know any of the details about that yet, but it's kind of insane how a major icon of the roller coaster like amusement industry just sort of closed out of nowhere. Definitely angered a lot of fans. El Toro Ryan on YouTube and Coaster Studios, like they were kind of breaking the news like in the fall this year, kind of like, hey guys, this is probably going to happen. Like they're not going to announce it, they're just going to close it. So get your final rides while you can. And of course, that is what happened. And that's, really not a cool thing to do. But that's also partially why I'm okay with Muppets, since, apparently things can just disappear without you knowing. And sometimes this doesn't happen on purpose, like with Top Thrill Dragster. I never got to experience that ride, and it closed due to an incident. King Ka, I am very grateful that I got to be able to experience that ride. I have a lot of credit card debt because of impulsive theme park trips I went on, but I do not regret them because things can just disappear without warning, apparently. And, Cedar Fair and Six Flags did announce a bunch of roller coasters that are coming to the parks in 2026 in lieu of the announcement. And, like, there are a lot of cool things that are coming to their parks. I'm not going to get into all of them now because they're just not too relevant at the moment. But, ever since King Ka's closure, they also unceremoniously closed a few other rides without people getting the opportunity to ride them one last time, like a Nighthawk at Carowinds, which is an old school flying coaster, not the best ride. And then Anaconda at King's Dominion, an old Aero Looper, that's closing. That one people kind of expected, but like still, it's just again, you're not giving people one final chance to ride it. You can make profit off of merch. Just really weird decisions. Maybe there's maintenance stuff we don't know about, but it just doesn't seem like the best marketing decision. And hopefully, Cedar Fair and Six Flags does not continue to do this in the future because rude. Tristan, do you have any thoughts about that before I try to quickly review Halloween Horror Nights in 3 minutes?
No.
All right, cool. Oh, 3 minutes for HHN 33. Honestly, that kind of works out very well. Truthfully, I actually didn't want to talk too long about it, but this year, overall, was very fun. Halloween Horror Nights 33 for 2024. It was a fun year. It was definitely a downgrade from the past 2 years, but there's definitely still plenty to still enjoy about it. I think the talk of the town from Halloween Horror Nights 33 was Insidious the Further. That was an all-timer house. It was so good. I remember, a lot of people were talking about it beforehand before I could even get a chance to get into it. A lot of people said it was very scary. First walkthrough I went through, I'm like, wow, this definitely is the scariest house. It wasn't like the scariest, but then the more I did it, the more scared I got. And I went to HHN the final night this year. Um, every house, because the event closes at 2 a.m., so you have till 2 a.m. to get in line. Every house was clear by 2 a.m., except for Insidious, which didn't clear until after 3 a.m. Everyone knew that Insidious was that girl this year. And that walkthrough was traumatizing. Those scare actors were on their A game. I've never been that scared in a house before, even though I've done that house a few times in just HHN for the past 3 years. Bravo to that house. Great scare actors, great scares. The curtain room, you know who you are. But bravo to Insidious. Nightmare Fuel, really fun show. I got to go to the last Nightmare Fuel of the year again. Incredible. Love the energy. The performers are amazing. Some people said that the show was a little bit of a downgrade compared to the last 2 years, but honestly, it was still really fun and the performers are incredible. Music is always great and just really great energy. Other good highlights of the event this year, Goblin's Feast was a surprise for me. Really fun, cute, charming sets. Major Suites is a pretty cool house. Slaughter Cinema 2 is an incredible house. And then every other house was at least pretty good. The only house that was a disappointment was Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines, because the last two Universal Monsters houses were incredible, and this one just did not utilize the sets very well. They this year at Horror Nights, they did not use the parade buildings that they used to use, like last year for The Last of Us and the Universal Monsters house and the Weekend house. They put up two new tents, which I love the location of them. It is really great that you can take somewhat of a walk and be at two houses versus those parade buildings, which were such long walks to get to them and such long walks to exit just to get back into line. Where this time you take kind of a long walk, but then there's two houses right there. That was a good setup. Besides that house, the only other downside of this year's event, the scare zones, they announced 5 scare zones, but it felt like 3.5. Portrait Fair, awesome. Demon Queen's pretty good. Oh my God, Swamp of the Undone, pretty great. I don't know if it was Swamp of the Undead. I think that's what it was. Blumhouse Scare Zone was kind of more of an Instagram photo op, but still pretty cool. And then you had the Duality of Fear, which was not a scare zone. It was a chainsaw horde, and the characters met on top of the truss. That is an insult that they called that a scare zone. Do not say that there was 5 scare zones. Universal, do better. Anyways, if you've been to the event, you know what I'm talking about. But overall, fun year. I can't wait for HHN 34. Sorry, I had to rush that. Tristan, we're done.
I deeply apologize for making you rush through
No, it's all
your
good.
recap
There's a lot
of
of
your
news to
favorite
talk
part
about.
of the year. But
No, it's all good, man.
that's
I'll
all we
talk more on
got.
the next episode.
Yeah, we'll do it again here. That's all we got. So just remember, thank you for listening. Follow us Facebook, X, Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can donate to our show for as little as $3 a month. You can see how to do that in the description and check out our Not Safe for Work comedy podcast, Two Useless Organisms. That's all I got. Peace out, dear friends.
Cheers.